The Education Collaborative was envisioned by Ashesi University back in 2016 when in thinking about our skills strategy as a university, we asked ourselves, how quickly can we really bring about this African Renaissance if we're just doing it within ourselves at Ashesi University? So in thinking around this goal for transformation, we asked ourselves, could we rather bring along other institutions on the continent who buy into a similar vision, to work together to really rapidly and quickly scale the outcomes for students on the continent? And so in achieving that, we've had to, work through the differences in culture, the differences in context, the differences in types of institution, right? So those have really been our biggest challenges. And in tackling that, we've had to take a very organic approach to building the relationships and the connections that we've established in the Education Collaborative. So I would say the university leaders really have been our biggest ally, working through the kinks together, working through how to collaborate more efficiently and effectively, and helping us to determine where to prioritize resources and efforts to ensure the best outcomes. Also, a very notable ally has been the Mastercard Foundation, in believing in this vision, in this initiative, and supporting through its resourcing for the next few years. In the last 3 years, we have been rolling out our 10-year strategy, ending in 2030. In doing that, we've really figured out how best to set up a regional hub, because the Education Collaborative is organized or implemented through regional hubs to drive further contextualization and relevance of the solutions and the sharing that happens. And in the last 3 years, one of the biggest successes is setting up these regional hubs. We set up East African Hub, with about 10 institutions being the anchors in that region. And then we set up with the West Africa regional hubs with close to 15 higher education institutions really driving priorities in that region. So the future looks like institutions seamlessly working towards one goal for transformative higher education in Africa. And I think that's one of the biggest goals we are working towards in the Education Collaborative, to build a certain culture of trust such that institutions at any point feel like they can rely on each other to learn, to address challenges, and to make progress in giving quality education to the students that come through their systems and structures.
Right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning from wherever you're connecting with us from. You're welcome to today's Community of Practice session, which is hosted by the Entrepreneurship Community of Practice at the Education Collaborative. Today's session, the goal here is to learn about the Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Diagnostic Tool by the collaborative, and also the importance of having a robust entrepreneurship ecosystem as a higher education institution. And for the first time, we're trying to rope in the Francophone nations. So we have an interpreter on the call to help us reach that region. So when you look at the bottom toolbar on your Zoom, if you are a French speaker or you'd want to have that experience, you can click on interpretation on the bottom row of your Zoom toolbar. You choose French and then you mute original audio. If you do not mute original audio, you would hear both the English and French. So you can click interpretation on the bottom toolbar, click listen in French, and then you mute the original audio. We really hope that you have a great session with us today. And I would hand it over to Nana Mabuamponsem, who is the Assistant Director of Programs here at the Education Collaborative. Good afternoon, Nanama. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ajwa, and good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so just to introduce myself, my name is Anama Bomponsem, and I work with the programs team at the Education Collaborative. I'm really happy to, this afternoon or evening, whichever time it is for you, to be facilitating this conversation today on, on unlocking entrepreneurial ecosystems and higher education institutions through the Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Diagnostic Tool. So now this session, we're really bringing together individuals who are driving entrepreneurial ecosystems in their own institutions. They'll be sharing with us some cases. That's the first part of it. We'll have really great discussions in breakout rooms, and after we'll do a demonstration of what the Education Collaborative's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem Diagnostic Tool is. So now, I mean, before I go on any further, I'll allow these two gentlemen to introduce themselves. Dr. Amari Kasau from Bahir Dar University, and then Dr. William Murithi from Strathmore University.
Shall I start?
Yes, please go ahead, Dr. Kasau.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. I'm Amara Kasau from Bahir Dar University, Bahir Dar, Ethiopia. I'm an assistant professor in electrical and computer engineering, and I'm a talent development and entrepreneurship ecosystem advocate. I will introduce part of our experience on entrepreneurship ecosystem building in Bahir Dar University in the breakout sections. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kasau. Dr. William Murithi, can you also introduce yourself to our participants today?
So Dr. Murithi will be joining us shortly.
Okay, all right. Thank you. So like I said, this afternoon, we're going to be exploring how universities and higher education institutions generally can better design and sustain their entrepreneurship ecosystems so that they are not only nurturing innovation, but they are also generating or bringing up real impacts for students and communities. Now, to set the stage, I'll kind of give an overview of, I think Ajwa had already said that we'll be running some polls, a few polls in the course of this session. So we'd want to first know how you heard about today's session. Please share with us how you heard about today's session. Okay. Yeah, I will now go ahead to set the stage for what our conversation is about on the EED tool now. So I'll begin, like I said, with an overview of the Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Diagnostic Tool, what inspired it, what it measures, and why it's a strong tool for your institutions, and more importantly, why a strong entrepreneurship ecosystem is very important for higher education institutions in this era that we're in. Now, the Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Diagnostic Tool, was developed by the Education Collaborative to respond to a clear gap that we saw in higher education institutions across Africa. And this is that many institutions were running individual entrepreneurship programs, incubators, competitions here and there, but there sometimes wasn't a holistic framework to understand how all these efforts connect and how all these different initiatives and efforts within higher education institutions connect to make a thriving ecosystem. And so what the tool does is really supports institutions to diagnose, one, to analyze, and we don't leave it there. We also, the tool also supports to strengthen the institutions' ecosystems. So you can think of it as both a mirror showing what the reflection is and a roadmap supporting or guiding into what the next steps should be or can be. And so institutions get to know where they stand today and what they can do next. And why do we think that this is very important for institutions across higher education, across Africa, because we believe that entrepreneurship ecosystems are not really just about startups, as we're seeing. It's also about a mindset that we want to cultivate in students. It's also about the collaboration that we want to nurture in students, and really transformation towards the Africa that we want to see. And the ecosystem supports these higher education institutions to equip their students with entrepreneurial and employability skills, translate research into real-world innovation, also build sustainable partnerships with industry, with governments, with policymakers, among others, and then ultimately become engines of economic growth in their regions. To bring this to life, like I shared at the very beginning, we'll be going through some case studies. We'll be going through two case studies, one from Strathmore and then one from Bahir Dar University. And in these rooms, we'll have a discussion or conversation around what the ecosystem look like. We'll hear from these institutions what's their actions were, their activities were, what their enablers were to drive these ecosystems across their institutions. And it's really, these case studies are supposed to reflect not the ideal, not the standard, not 100%, but to show clearly what this can look like in your own institutions. So I will allow us to get into the breakout rooms.